So let's move now to the big game down in Austin. Trevor, you were down there. Oklahoma State at Texas. Oklahoma State, are they underrated? Do we just not appreciate them, or are we just waiting for the rest of the season, kind of like what we did with Iowa, to come on and catch up? They did a nice job getting through the neighborhood, but as they cross the freeway, it feels like there's some semi trucks they ain't getting past. But today they got past the Longhorns, who again gave up a double-digit lead. First time in 25 years, they gave up back-to-back blown double-digit leads. What, you were there, atmosphere, the anticipation, thud for the Longhorns.
Yeah, it was a crazy atmosphere. I'd say kind of to start the game, the Texas faithful, they had some juice to them. They were excited. They came off of a really emotional loss the week before in the Cotton Bowl, but you saw a lot of great things out of Casey Thompson and that Texas offense. You've got the best running back in college football in Bijan Robinson, who, again, was by far the best player on the field today, and it was very apparent. But as the game went on, you know, they scored pretty early, pretty often, pretty good, appetizing first half. They come out in the second half. Bijan Robinson scores, I think, from 30, 35 yards out. And then I need to go fact check it, because I think they may have gotten 1 or 2 first downs the rest of the football game. Casey Thompson, non-existent, 3 and out after 3 and out. Oklahoma State didn't play all that well. I mean, Spencer Sanders can't get out of his own way. He has some bright spots. He makes some good plays, especially with his feet. But he is one of those guys that wow play into a what the heck was that type of play. He is that type of player to me. But what he did today was just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And so props to him for, even though he made some good and bad plays, he had some juice behind him. He had the intent to go and kill at the end of the game. And Texas had an opportunity to go down 2 different times at the end of the game to either tie it or go down and win the football game, essentially. And you just saw timidity out of Casey Thompson and that offensive line and really just the whole staff. We've talked about it a lot on our podcast. It goes much further than what the product is on the field at this point. And I think Steve Sarkisian's seeing that now, that it's not even his cultural issue. It's maybe even an athletic department cultural issue with the way that they're handling things there in Austin.
Let's go to that. Walk us through that for those of us on the outside. Yeah. Hack, East Coast, I'm West Coast. You're in the heart of it. We've heard about that a lot. At the end of the Mac Brown era, country club. They get all these pretty kids in all these gold trim buildings, and they get knocked out.
Yep.
And they've had a couple different coaches. Charlie Strong, defensive minded. Tom Herman, very successful. Both of those two have won national championships as coordinators. Could not really get these guys off the mat. If you're saying it's beyond the football department, up to the athletic department, walk us through, like fly us through that building and point out what it is you're seeing or what you have heard.
Well, that was a great way to describe it, the country club mentality. In my opinion, and I get nervous about this for one of my alma maters, Texas A&M, you can't Band-Aid issues with throwing money at something, right? I mean, at some point, you've got to peel back the layers and say, look to the guy to your right, look to the guy to your left and say, hey, we're going to take away any of this ego. We're going to take away all the history of these walls, and we're going to start from scratch. You got to line up from the guy across from you, and you've got to beat him one-on-one, and you got to not let the guy next to you down. And I just think they keep masking all these issues with throwing money at stuff, and it starts from the top and trickles downhill. You guys know any successful team, they've got great leadership at the top, and that permeates all the way down to your equipment manager, right? Everybody feeds off of that energy. And I'll say this too. It's not just the administration, the coaching staff, the strength staff, or the players. It is also the Texas fan base and the Texas donors who put way, way, way too much pressure on their coaching staff, on their players, because of the history of that program. You are the University of Texas, but guess what? Just like Spencer Rattler lost his job, you can also lose your prowess if you don't handle yourself the right way and respect the game from start to finish. So they've got to really just take a step back from every angle and start from the beginning, in my opinion.
Indeed. Trevor Knight, you can find him. Trevor, shout out your Twitter so all the Longhorn fans know right where to go. Shout your Twitter out.
Trevor_Knight9. Follow me up. Hit me up. Let's go to town, baby.
There you go, man. That was a biblical breakdown. Hack. I don't even know what to say. Follow.
Yeah. What else? What else did I say?
He broke it down. But
I'm just.
Go ahead, Hack.
Side that always looks at it like, hey, Texas has more oil money than they can even think of, and that's just what it's always been. Texas can always fix issues and fix issues with that. That's always been, again, just an East Coast guy's thought process on it. And I think, Trevor, you explained it beautifully. It's that program was built on blue collar, hard nosed type foundations, and they reached a level and got complacent.
Yep.
They said what kills me is that Baylor got off the mat twice. They got off the mat with Matt Rule. Now they're getting back up off the mat with Coach Aranda. SMU up off the mat, making as much noise as they possibly can. A&M, they got up. They were rolling with Coach Sumlin. Then they wobbled some, got right back up with Coach Jimbo Fisher, and then they're knocking out number 1, 2, 3 teams in the country. If you look at that state, everybody's drawing from the same pool of players. All those players grew up wanting to be a Longhorn. I don't understand it. All those assistant coaches have thought about one day walking through the tunnel at Texas Stadium wearing the polo as the head coach. Everybody wants to be there. But like you said, the custodians of this great iconic place with all these iconic Hall of Fame players. I mean, I don't understand it. And then when they made the move to the SEC, they wanted to go to the SEC. They snuck in there in the middle of the night, put the sign up, yo, we're in here, welcome, whatever. Their first dance with an SEC team was an Arkansas team that beat the shit out of them. And that Arkansas team, even though it's up and coming and everybody's cheering for them, will wind up in the middle of the pack in the SEC. And they got knocked out. They got knocked out by a middle-of-the-road SEC program. This is going to be fascinating. Now let's jump to another big knockout.